How's it going, everybody? So I'm just sitting here drinking some delicious top shelf white pony white tea, and I want to record a video talking about my preparation leading into the IBJJF Austin Open here this last weekend. So for the first 6 months of this year or whatever, basically, I won gold, and I did really good at Grappling Industries. The videos are up on YouTube. I beat four opponents. They were all 15 pounds heavier than me, and I won gold. And I tapped two of them out with the same choke. I did really good. And I was feeling really pumped up and really like dopamine centric, feeling really good leading into that competition. But then something happened, and after that competition, I could never like replicate the dopamine feelings that I was feeling in that preparation. I couldn't figure out what it was. I took all the same herbs, I took, the same diet and everything. And for some reason, no matter what herb combinations I tried, supplements, etc., I just couldn't replicate that same dopamine, aggression, testosterone feeling that I was feeling. Provided there were a couple herbs that I couldn't find anymore. For example, the specific pine pollen that I was getting at the time from Hyperion Herbs. I actually think that was probably what it was, and I suspect that most of the pine pollen on the market is not as good, and that might be what it is. Also, I think maybe there's a Mucuna extract that I might have been taking at the time, and I didn't really write it down, and that Mucuna extract cannot be found anymore. But I don't really know if any of that's actually even true. I don't know what it is, but basically, after that tournament, like 6 months leading into the Austin Open, I basically spent a shit ton of money on herbs and supplements to try to experiment, to try to like get me motivated and aggressive and to get that energy back. And so I've experimented with Panax red ginseng, various different forms of reishi and polyrachis ant and pine pollen and alpha GPC and a whole bunch of other things. And a lot of these herbs are really good, but none of them really made the kind of difference that I was expecting. And so anyway, and this is actually the biggest lesson I learned from my preparation is the basics matter the most. They're like the fundamental. Basically everything I've been saying in my videos over the past 4 to 5 months about how we need to stop trying to use supplements and nootropics and stuff like that to try to feel good and feel motivated and shit. And, stop focusing on dopamine and testosterone fixes because everyone's addicted to that type of shit. And instead, we need to focus on balance and building satisfaction in our lives, and focus on the basics and be very minimalist in whatever herbs and supplements we're taking, because it's very common to people to just like spend a shit ton of money like I did, and then next thing you know, they're taking like a long list of like 20 to 40 nootropic supplements. A lot of times these supplements and herbs actually kind of have negative effects that we're not aware of and make us worse off. But anyway, so I'm going to do a play-by-play of my gold medal match pretty soon, but basically I won silver, and I would say I probably would have won that match if it wasn't for me getting penalized for an illegal grip, where I ended up, I sweeped my opponent, but I had my fingers on the inside of his pants. It was like an accident, and it wasn't really that big of a deal, but basically then they gave me a penalty, and they reset us in the middle of the mats, but with me on bottom, even though I had swept the guy and landed in side control. And so it's like, I was in the process of submitting the guy at that point, but after that happened, I just, it really threw me off. I was confused, and I was kind of already in a weird funk, because that entire day I just felt super relaxed and calm, to the point where I felt like I could just fall asleep at any moment. And I think it might have been maybe I took too much L-tyrosine. I don't really know. All I know is that whole week leading in the competition, I just felt abnormally tired. And so in that match, literally, I just felt no anxiety and I just felt way too calm. And so, yeah, they reset me on bottom, and I was just like, I was scared to really do anything because I didn't want to get penalized again. So instead of playing my normal guard game, because they reset me on bottom and half guard, I could have submitted him from half guard. I could have swept him. I could have retained guard and just kept him there. But instead, I kind of just like, I don't even know. The guy ended up taking my back, and he didn't submit me from there. I'll do a play-by-play of the match, but basically by the time my mind kind of like came back, the guy already scored like 4 points on me or something. So, yeah, I'm going to do a reaction video of that. But my training leading into that was kind of like inconsistent. For a long time, I was training maybe 3 times a week jiu-jitsu. Strength and conditioning, I was, experimenting with a wide variety of different things. But the biggest thing is I was doing a really hard and aggressive weight cut to try to get down to the 194 class. And in this competition, basically, you weigh in with the gi on. So if I'm trying to compete at 194 pounds, I have to basically take into account the 5 pounds that the gi weighs. So really, I was trying to cut down to like 185. And so the other thing is the weigh-ins at this tournament is 30 minutes before you step on the mats and compete. So you can't just do a weight cut like in MMA where you can cut 20 pounds of water weight in like 1 week. Instead, I was legitimately losing fat and muscle and strength for the 3 months leading into my competition. And so when you're doing an aggressive cut like that, it can be hard to maintain your training at a decent intensity. And it can also be hard to maintain your strength. And so, especially the last 2 months of that competition, my aggressive weight cut was just like taking the majority of my energy and resources. And then the biggest problem with this is about 1 week away from the tournament, both of my opponents in my weight class that I was cutting for just completely dropped out. So now the 194 pound class that I was cutting for basically had no opponents. And so I could have gone to the tournament still and just got an honorary gold medal even though I didn't compete. But I told myself, no, that's kind of cheap. I would rather actually compete and earn my gold medal because I've been training hard for this and all this other stuff. So I looked at the different brackets that I could join. So I ended up competing 18 pounds under the weight limit. And I competed at the 208 pound weight division, and that's including the gi. And I weighed in at like 189 pounds, okay, before stepping on the mats. So I was like 18 or 19 pounds underweight, which is just insane. And meanwhile, my opponent was just as strong as me and had a stronger squat and all this other stuff, and definitely was heavier than me. So the week of the competition, I started slamming the carbs, a bunch of white rice and stuff, because I was trying to put on as much weight in a short amount of time as I could, so that I basically wasn't 18 pounds underweight when the competition time came. And this actually made me feel really tired and lethargic the entire week, and it ruined my sleep. And I just really felt overall sick and not so great with all the carbs that I was doing. But of course, I don't know why I haven't learned my lesson yet, but I was like, well, the evidence-based sports people, sports science people, they say that if anything, all these carbs the week of the competition should like really give me a lot of glycogen. But all it really did was make me feel sick and lethargic, just like always. But yeah, so anyway, day of the competition came and I just felt so calm. And yeah, I competed and I didn't do bad, honestly. I just wasn't prepared for the way they did the rules and shit like that. And I still won silver. So, and I saw one of my opponents from my last competition there, and he got smashed. He did not improve at all. So at least I know I improved or didn't get any worse, because our match, I would say, was pretty equal and I would have won if I didn't get reset on bottom. So, look out for the play-by-play kind of reaction video coming soon. But yeah. So, 2 weeks leading into this competition, me and my professor, Professor Joe Brown, we just worked on my game plan and refining my technique and my strategy. Every single day, he would spend extra time after class helping me with it, and I am extremely grateful for that. And we were really, really working on snapping my opponent down and then taking the back and stuff. And the thing is, in my match, I got in the back, but my mind was just like really set on a very specific kind of visualization of what was going to go down. And I don't really think that was a problem, honestly. I think the only problem is getting reset on bottom. But yeah, so the game plan was great. The training was awesome. The game plan was working. And yeah. So basically, I also stopped doing strength training like 3 to 4 weeks before this competition. I actually think that really hindered my performance. I've always found when I leave strength training in my preparation, it seems to just keep my energy up, keep me feeling like loose and limber. And I think it basically is through nervous system potentiation. When you lift heavy weights before you do like your sport, it actually makes you more explosive, faster, and perform better, and more kind of like turned on and warmed up. So, look into post-activation potentiation or nervous system potentiation. But this time I just kept the weight training out to see if it helped with my recovery, and I just think it really messed me up, especially my mindset. I just don't feel like myself unless I lift heavy pretty frequently. So yeah, overall I would say, number one, having 6 months to prepare for a competition, that's a long fucking time. And I do like the shorter kind of like preparation periods. If I have a tournament in like 2 months, I think that's like perfect. Because I start stepping up my game really like the month leading into the competition anyway. So I'm going to do like a video where I kind of do a play-by-play of the tournament here soon. But pretty much the main lessons I learned is, number one, like herbs and supplements are great, but you really should only stick to a very small few that you know what they do and they kind of complement each other. So for example, cordyceps, Panax red ginseng, astragalus, and polyrachis ant. Like those are very yang, athletic boosting, energy boosting, recovery boosting kind of herbs that complement each other. And it's a very small few, and they've been used together in Chinese medicine for a long time. And that's basically going to be my main stack moving forward, along with some reishi on top, and then more of like a tea-based kind of program rather than like caffeine from coffee and shit. The other thing is don't chase stimulation, don't chase like dopamine and testosterone boosting things, because even if they do have a really good effect, a lot of times those effects fade away pretty fast. It's better to take, kind of like the herbs I just mentioned, ginseng and reishi and astragalus, that basically take your baseline and make it healthier over weeks and months and years. They really build your baseline level of strength and resilience, rather than something like mucuna purins that make you really pumped up in the short term. These things like literally upgrade your baseline level of health and well-being and vitality over time. They take what you have and make it better, rather than just stimulating you in the short term. So the other thing is, diet-wise, I just do best eating meat, fruit, and like basically very little carbs. I do best under 80 grams of carbs a day, getting very small boluses of carbs here and there, mostly around training. So when I was eating all this rice and shit, even if it was at the very end of the day, I just always felt sick, and it gave me night sweats, and I just felt like it was feeding. This is just subjective, but I felt like it was feeding, pathogenic bacteria or something. Like, I don't even know. All I know is I did not feel good. It didn't give me a performance boost at all. I always feel like it actually hinders my performance. However, if I eat meat, like mostly beef, and especially if I boil beef with the broth, and I boil it with some like broccoli and cauliflower, and then I pour it over berries, like that is like my favorite meal. And if I eat that every day, I actually feel really, really awesome. And I found that that combination of food, along with maybe a little bit of honey, maybe in my coffee in the morning or before training, for some reason that tiny bit of carbs, because the berries probably have maybe 18 grams a cup of net carbs. So if I eat 2 cups of berries, that's like 36 grams of carbs, unless I suck at math and I'm completely wrong. 36 grams of carbs from like the berries and frozen fruit I eat with my meat at the end of the day. And then the honey, I might be getting maybe 50 grams, depending on how many spoons I eat. Usually it's not that much. It's usually like maybe 3 tablespoons at the most. So as an athlete training multiple times a day, I'm probably still in ketosis. That's definitely under 80 grams of carbs per day. And I'm not even doing the honey very often. So yeah, and I've always kind of mentioned under 80 grams a day for me seems to be the best. But when I start doing rice, like I'll eat like a whole cup of dry jasmine rice, sometimes twice a day if I do rice, and that's like 160 grams of carbs per cup of dry jasmine rice. That's a lot of carbs already, and the longer I do that, the worse I feel. If I just do a little bit of sushi here and there with like some friends, I actually don't feel that bad. But it's just like whatever it is, like the longer I go eating more like carbs, especially from like rice and stuff like that, the worse I feel. So I've kind of just basically learned again and again that I do best eating a mostly kind of paleo diet, focus on meat, fruit, and honey basically. But not a lot of like fruit and honey, just a little bit to complement my meat. And then my tonic herb routine, I'm taking reishi right now, and I actually really love it. Reishi makes me productive. It keeps me focused. It helps to like remove like negative behaviors. It helps me let go of things that no longer serve me. Like for example, it kind of guides your spirit almost. If it's a weird way of putting it, but whenever I take reishi, I start to notice, number one, I have like no desire to watch porn at all. I start to look at different aspects of my personality that I normally don't think about. It helps me be grounded in the present moment. And also I notice it slows down time while I do jiu-jitsu or while I spar. I could see punches coming before they hit me, so I have better reaction time. I could feel people's movements before they actually do them. I honestly feel like when I take reishi, especially if I mix reishi and polyragus ant. Polyragus ant and reishi, they have this like God energy like quality to them, is what I like to say. Where I feel like this is gonna sound really woo woo, but like one with the God energy and one with my spirit. It basically upgrades my spirit is how I feel. And that's the best way for me to put it. Otherwise, you were talking GABA, endocannabinoid system, and dopamine derivatives, and it's like I just don't feel like that's useful as far as describing herbs and stuff. I'm definitely a lot more like detached from the outcome, and I just feel like I'm in a more positive and healthy mindset when I take reishi. It definitely kind of removes, for one, it removes resistance. Things like that I've been meaning to do for a long time, like cleaning my apartment or deleting my Facebook or, leaving a job that's no longer serving me. Those things become much easier when I take reishi. Reishi tends to just remove the resistance from things I should have already been doing. Reishi allows me to make videos like this after, many times where I have ideas. I'm like, I should record a video about this. I notice when I'm taking reishi, I'm not scatterbrained anymore. I'm not just like spending a bunch of time thinking about what I should do or what I could do. Instead of thinking about what I should do, I actually just start doing the things that I really want to do or I really need to do. Things start to get done all of a sudden. And yeah, reishi kind of like helps to bring awareness to certain things in your life that you need to take care of in order to move forward. And I think that that's partly why a lot of people feel depressed when they take reishi at first, especially if they take a large amount too soon. I think it's because because a lot of people, they spend most of their energy trying to run away from their problems, and reishi kind of like brings your problems and puts them right in front of your face so you could deal with them finally. And a lot of people, it kind of freaks them out, and so they just kind of deem reishi as like bad because of that. And they're like, oh, reishi, it messes up your hormones and DHT and this and that, and that's why it makes me feel depressed, blah blah blah. But in reality, it's probably because you're suddenly thinking about things that are painful to think about. And so, but yeah, I don't know how to explain all that for other people. It could be a lot of different things, but these are just my observations. And so, now that IBJJF is over, I want, my main goal is to get A's and really good grades in this next semester in college, and also to focus on doing more reaction videos on YouTube and really building my brand, building my YouTube channel, building my Instagram following, and providing a lot more value in my Instagram posts, making more informational book reviews and stuff like that, and building up my lifting and posting more lifting videos on Instagram, and really building my jiu-jitsu skills and working on all of the mistakes that I made in jiu-jitsu. And then also, building my career, probably getting a job at Gold's Gym or something like that pretty soon, and really focusing on building my client base and stuff like that at jiu-jitsu. Or not at jiu-jitsu, at the commercial gym, and really just focusing on building my career. You know what I mean? So becoming a better coach and a better athlete in general, training a lot more frequently and being more consistent with my training, and just trying to be the best I can be in all aspects. And basically aligning my life a lot more with the things that matter and with my value systems. And doing a lot less procrastinating, and basically focusing a lot more on my goals. Basically, that's for the next 6 months. So yeah, I'm gonna keep my herb routine kind of minimalist. I'm gonna probably keep following this kind of like meat, fruit, and non-starchy vegetable diet with tonic herbs. And just keeping things minimal and effective is really what it is. Because I think I just I got really complicated the past couple months with my philosophy. I was always reading law of attraction content, and really it was more so the herbs. I was trying to I got to find the secret sauce to feeling amazing, and I've just found the secret sauce is to let go of the secret sauce and focus more on balance, and take herbs and things that help bring more ease in your life and bring more balance in your life. So I don't know. I'm pretty much tired of talking at this point. Hopefully this has made sense and that this is helpful. If you have any specific questions about any of this, post it down below. And I'll be posting kind of like a reaction video to my IBJJF victory pretty soon.